I have been given a topic biopiracy. So biopiracy is basically a area which touches life science and legal aspect both. So because here most of the audience belongs to biology background, so without mixing those biological aspect, it will not be justified to understand the legal aspect. So as the term biopiracy itself indicates that bio and piracy. So bio is basically a biology part where all living life and related with that aspect is included. So it may range from archaebacteria to the higher organism, like you can see mammals as well as the plants. This bio also includes the knowledge which is basically harvested by the human being by creating the so many products. Those products have their utility in market, they have value, economic value, and these values, these products are protected by intellectual property rights. They are given in the form of patent, copyright, trademark, design, and so on. So that is why it has a linkage. Now, why biopiracy is very important for us? It is because as a student of biology, we know that we are one among 17 mega biodiversity centers. So we have a lot of biodiversity, plants, animals, microbes, all. So this is basically a resource in current scenario. And that is why this aspect of biopiracy is very important to understand. We have 4 ecological hotspots. We have 22 agrobiodiversity hotspots. And these hotspots are limited to very small area. That is only 2.4% of land area of the globe. That is why it is very important to understand this aspect of intellectual property right. We have so many recorded species, and the facts are listed here related with biopiracy. Now, next, ma'am. Why IPR matters, especially in relation with biopiracy? It is because we have a rich biodiversity, rich bioresource and resources available with them, as well as traditional knowledge associated with them. And these traditional knowledge possessed by community, farmers, laborers, breeders, all the people who are living, inhabiting in our territory, they have the knowledge using these biological products in our life, in terms of medicine, in terms of food, in terms of wearing clothes, or any other thing which is useful for us. And if they have a value, they can be linked to intellectual property rights, like patent, like many other aspects of intellectual property right. Now, before entering into the biopiracy, we shall know what is the legal definition of biodiversity and from where it is taken. The definition of biodiversity has been given in the Act, Biological Diversity Act 2002 under section 2B. And it says the variability among living organisms from all sources and the ecological complexes of which they are part, and includes diversity within species or between species and the end of ecosystem. So this is the complex definition they have given, but in nutshell, we can simply understand biodiversity is the variety and variability present in the organism at genetic level, at a species level, or at community level constitutes the biodiversity. And the correct definition lies in this section. Apart from the biodiversity, we have another useful term which has been defined by the Biodiversity Act, that is bioresource. Which is bioresource? They have specified here plants, animals, and microorganisms or parts thereof, their genetic material and byproducts, including value added products with actual or potential use or value, but does not include human genetic material. So this is the basic definition they have incorporated legally for defining the bioresource. So biodiversity and bioresource can be taken from here. We talk much about the traditional knowledge, but the term traditional knowledge has not been yet defined in the Biological Diversity Act. We just use the definition as per our customary practices, and they are defined under the international documents. Now, what is intellectual property? I think Sir has also given basic input about the intellectual property, so I'll not go into much depth. Intellectual property is nothing, but it's basically the output of human mental creation, innovation, which is new and has value for us. So if we are going to produce anything from our mental output, that comes under the intellectual purview, and they are protected under different domain. They are protected under different domain such as copyright, design, trademark, trade secret, and so on. Why these are important? Because they are going to save our biological diversity and their associated products. These intellectual property can be seen as intangible because they are creation of mental output. But when they are translated into product, you are owner of that. And being an owner, if someone is infringing your rights, you can legally enforce. And these intellectual properties are having, incentive for investor, creator, and that's why they invest and they create new things. And when these things are created, the products are generated, and these products have a lot of diversity, and that makes choices, more choices for consumer. And when there are more products, more investor, more economic growth is seen in our country, and then our economy booms. In present scenario, we are basically driven by a knowledge economy. And in this knowledge economy, intellectual property plays a great role. And that is why we can see our governments are pushing for made in India. So this made in India cannot be fructified without having intellectual property rights for the new products. We cannot crystallize our made in India. So we need that. Next, ma'am. The different type of intellectual property we saw in the previous slide, we can classify in two categories. On the basis of nature, what is their nature, and on the basis of the right emanating from these different type of intellectual properties. So in general, we can classify in two categories on the basis of nature: artistic IP and industrial IP. Artistic IP usually includes copyright and design. Design has dual nature. It falls under the industrial as well as artistic. And the second is your industrial IP. It has industrial value such as patent, trademark, design. So they are classified into two broad categories. And on the basis of right, which has relevance with biopiracy, we can classify into two categories: individual right as well as the community right. When we talk about individual right, we see patent, trademark, and copyright are the type of intellectual properties. They provide right to individual to use, to not allow to use, license, distribute, whatever you can do. An individual is honor of that and can do it. But there are certain IP which is not individual. The community have on that. Community has right on that. And one among that is traditional knowledge. Apart from that, geographical indication is also a type of IP that has community right. So biopiracy, whenever the issue of biopiracy crops up, the community or group right emerges to defend the such piracy. So that is why I have come here to just link with that. And this traditional knowledge is basically seen in different ways. We will discuss in some other talk, and I'm not going to delve into that. So after classifying, we can see the direct topic, that is our biopiracy. As per the literature, the term first coined by the Canada-based NGO, that is Rural Advancement Foundation International, and now it is known as Action Group of Erosion Technology and Concentration. So this term was basically used by this NGO around 1980 to 90. It has a significance of that decade. We will discuss in the later slide. So as we discuss that, biopiracy is basically appropriation or taking away the knowledge and the material associated with living organism, that you can call it genetic resource. So if you are appropriating the knowledge and the genetic material or material biological product without acknowledging the local community or the people who are associated with that, is definitely falling under the domain of biopiracy. So several definitions has been given by the different legal luminaries as well as the academician. We can go into these three definitions, but the conclusion is same. You are using the product without authorization, or you are manipulating the legal laws for your own benefit and monopolizing the knowledge as well as the genetic resource for own benefit without sharing the benefit arising from the use of these product or knowledge. And that falls under the domain of biopiracy. Next. Now, this slide is very important to understand the evolution of biopiracy. अगर हम लोग अपने हिस्ट्री में जाएं तो हम देखते हैं कि जब हम रामायण पढ़ते हैं तो उसमें हनुमान जी का जिक्र आता है। तो जब एक बार लक्ष्मण जी को मूर्छा आ गई थी युद्ध करते हुए, तो हनुमान जी हिमालय पर्वत से कुछ जड़ी बूटी ढूंढ के लाए थे, जिसको आजकल बॉटनी वाले जानते हैं कि सिलेजिनेला की स्पीसीज थी। ऐसा माना जाता है कि वो सिलेजिनेला की स्पीसीज थी। तो एक जमाना था कि कोई भी व्यक्ति इस धरती पर फ्री था कि वो कोई भी जेनेटिक रिसोर्स को एक जगह से दूसरी जगह ले जा सकता था, और इस प्रकार से the genetic material or knowledge was freely available as a common property resource. And that is why we can see that in our ancient time, so many people traveled across the globe, collected the material and brought to their nation, made the herbarium, made the storage, and they have propagated it without any legal hurdle. So this was the, a past situation where there was no, no one was claiming that this is my material. It's okay that if I am entering into the enemy's domain, they may capture like why you are stealing. But in general, the things were freely available for medical purpose, research, or like that. So gradually, what happened? Things kept on, and we can see that when the Englishman came into our country, they started, sending so much of spices, so much of plant material to their own country. And at that time, there was no legal clauses were there. We were just a colony, and we were not able to stop them. So initial days was basically no such concept was prevailing. People were collecting it, people were using it for own benefit, and the people were living happily. What happened? Gradually, when scientific development took place after industrial revolution, people started moving very fast from one continent to another continent, one country to another country, and they started showing like this collection in a new format, and they started saying bioprospecting. So they are collecting the material for making certain goods, and that goods will be good for humanity. So that is why bioprospecting is nothing but a positive depiction of collection for screening of product from biodiversity rich regions. Because most of the the advanced countries, Western advanced countries, were coming to the developing countries who were falling in the equatorial region, having the rich biodiversity, and they were taking away the material from this region to that region, and they gave the new term, that is bioprospecting. But what happened after Second World War, when United Nations got established? So after establishment of United Nations, the world order started settling, and legal domain was evolving. So many institutions were created, and things were coming into a proper format. If we see, the environmental consciousness also started arising after Second World War. We can see some landmark books, material published, like Rachel Carson. She published a book on some pesticides, and after that, the a landmark conference was organized by United Nations, and we biology students know that it is called as Stockholm Conference. It was organized in Stockholm, and this conference was basically related with man and environment. Why? Because till that 1972, we started considering that the environmental conditions and biodiversity is getting lost very rapidly. So this Stockholm Conference is very important to understand the history of biopiracy. If you read the principles accepted in Stockholm Conference, the principle 21 and 22 is very important. The principle 21 says that the states have sovereign right over their natural resource. This is very important, because this terminology led to putting the seed of legal formatization of your biopiracy. So when the countries started accepting that we have sovereign right over natural resource, and that includes biological product also, biodiversity also, and associated knowledge there too. And the principle 22 says we will keep developing treaties and international laws to protect these type of things. So these 21 and 22 was basically very crucial thing. After the Stockholm, after 20 years, United Nations brought it to review the progress of Stockholm Conference in Rio de Janeiro, where Earth Summit was held. During the Earth Summit, another, treaty was materialized, and that treaty is called as Convention on Biological Diversity. This convention accepted that state has sovereign right over their biological resource. So now you can understand 72 was the precursor from where we started laying down the foundation, and in 1992 we accepted that the states have sovereign right over their biological resource, meaning thereby if someone is going to take away any product, any biological material from any country, he or she is not allowed. So if you are doing that, you are going to do piracy. And that led, landmark change in the understanding of the biopiracy. And that is why अगर हम सभी लोग स्टूडेंट्स तो अभी यंग हैं, लेकिन हम टीचर्स में जितने भी देख सकते हैं कि जितने भी बायोपायरेसी के केसेस हुए, वो केसेस 1990 से 2000 के बीच में हुए, क्योंकि जब ये 1992 में ये ट्रीटी आ गई, तब जितने भी विकसित देश थे उन्हें लगा कि हम जल्दी से जल्दी इन रिसोर्सों को, इन बायोडाइवर्सिटी मटेरियल्स को अपने नाम करा लें। इसीलिए एक रेस लग गई कि जल्दी से जल्दी पेटेंट करवा लो, जल्दी से जल्दी इस पर जो भी लीगल राइट मिल सकते हैं ले लो, और वो पायरेसी की दौड़ शुरू हो गई। लेकिन तब तक ये कानून आ जाने के बाद अन्य देशों ने भी अपने आप को स्ट्रेंथन करना शुरू कर दिया। So this is basically the historical landmark points where we can understand the biopiracy. Next, ma'am. So this is the just a description what happened after the 1992 Stockholm Convention and Rio de Janeiro CBD. One thing is very important to understand before entering deep into the biopiracy. Biopiracy is basically unauthorized monopolization of biological material and traditional knowledge by using the intellectual property rights such as patent, such as trademark, design, and so on. Patent is very important. Why it is important? Because after 1992, 95 came, and in 1995, WTO got established. And in WTO, there was an additional, agreement that is called as TRIPS. In the TRIPS, there was, provision to provide rights to the people related with intellectual properties. And among them, patent was one of them. And for patent, they have made a provision for registration of plant varieties. So TRIPS says you can register your plant variety either by patent or by plant variety protection or by both. So कोई भी देश जो फ्री है वो पेटेंट दे सकता है प्लांट वैरायटी पे, या फिर उसको एक सुओ जेनेरिस तरीके से उसको प्रोटेक्ट कर सकता है, या फिर वो दोनों मेथड यूज कर सकता है। अब इसमें क्या हुआ कि ट्रिप्स के आने के बाद जो डेवलपिंग कंट्री, वो तो अपने अपने देशों में अपने हिसाब से उन्होंने कानून बनाए, किसी ने सुई जेनेरिस अडॉप्ट किया, किसी ने पेटेंट दिया, लेकिन यूनाइटेड स्टेट ऑफ अमेरिका ने इस पर पेटेंट राइट दिए, और यहीं से कहानी शुरू हुई बायोपायरेसी और मोनोपोलाइजेशन की। हमारे देश में जो प्लांट वैरायटीज है उसको पेटेंट नहीं मिलता है, उसके लिए हमने एक स्पेशल सुई जेनेरिस एक्ट बनाया है जिसको बोलते हैं प्लांट वैरायटी प्रोटेक्शन एक्ट 2001. So it is different from patent. So for general understanding, हम पेटेंट किस पर देते हैं? हम पेटेंट देते हैं दो चीजों पर, प्रोडक्ट और प्रोसेस पर। और जब भी हम पेटेंट देते हैं तो हम तीन चीजों को क्राइटेरिया पर चेक करते हैं, एंड दैट इज कॉल्ड एज योर इन्वेंशन शुड क्रॉस द टेस्ट ऑफ नॉवेल्टी, इन्वेंटिव स्टेप एंड कैपेबल ऑफ इंडस्ट्रियल एप्लीकेशन। If your product is able to cross these tests, along with there is a section 3 in Indian Patent Act that lists 15 exclusions. अब वो बड़ी लंबी सी लिस्ट है जिसमें से मैंने कुछ यहां पर नोट कर रखे हैं जो आप स्क्रीन पर पढ़ सकते हैं. अगर 15 एक्सक्लूजन में से किसी भी एक्सक्लूजन में आपका इन्वेंशन फॉल करता है तो आपको पेटेंट नहीं मिलेगा. तो इसका मतलब है आपको भारत में पेटेंट प्राप्त करने के लिए 4 टेस्ट क्वालिफाई करने पड़ेंगे. आपके इन्वेंशन को नॉवेल होना पड़ेगा, आपके इन्वेंशन में इन्वेंटिव स्टेप होना पड़ेगा, आपके इन्वेंशन को कैपेबल होना चाहिए कि वो प्रोडक्ट बना सके, और आपका इन्वेंशन इस सेक्शन 3 के किसी भी एक्सक्लूजन में फॉल ना करे. अब इसका रिलेवेंस क्या है बायोपायरेसी से, ये हम आगे समझेंगे, क्योंकि इस जो सेक्शन 3 है, सेक्शन 3 में एक एक्सक्लूजन है जिसमें लिखा हुआ है एन इन्वेंशन which in effect is a traditional knowledge or which is an aggregation or duplication of known properties of traditionally known components shall not be given patent. तो अगर कोई प्रोडक्ट है वो नोन है ट्रेडिशनली या उसका डुप्लीकेशन एग्रीगेशन करके पेटेंट मांगा जा रहा है तो आपको पेटेंट नहीं दिया जा सकता. दैट इज द एसेंस ऑफ ब्रिंगिंग दिस स्लाइड हियर. This is the diagrammatic representation. Like you have a filter, and through filter, your invention should, pass. If you are passing, you will get the patent. Otherwise, you will not get the patent. Next one. So that was the history of patent, how biopiracy is related with that. Now we come to the type of biopiracy. So if we normally we have given the general definition, like if we take away the biological product or the traditional knowledge, you can call it biopiracy without acknowledging their local peoples. So if we broaden the understanding of our biopiracy, we can keep it into 3 categories. Biopiracy can be done in 3 categories. One is called your patent biopiracy, second is your non-patent biopiracy, and third is your misappropriation. These are 3 types. Patent biopiracy means you can simply patenting the product which is known to someone else. So as the definition says, the patenting often spurious inventions based on biological resource and or traditional knowledge that are extracted without adequate authorization and benefit sharing from other countries, indigenous or local communities. So उनको आप बिना acknowledge किए हुए उनके knowledge या उनके biological resource को patent कर ले रहे हो, that is called as patent based biopiracy. Second is non-patent biopiracy, meaning thereby you can use other tools such as trademark, such as copyright, such as plant variety production. If you are using these type of tools or controls for monopolizing the knowledge as well as biological resource, it is fall under the domain of non-patent biopiracy. The case studies are given, we will discuss later. And third category is misappropriation. Misappropriation is basically falling in the third category, where you are extracting the biological resources or the knowledge from other countries unauthorizedly, and you are not providing the adequate benefit sharing. These 3 are the categories by which biopiracy is done. So ma'am, next. There are many cases and studies have been done for the patent biopiracy, and we are very much aware about that. Neem case, it was very known. Basmati rice, turmeric case, wheat case, Hoodia plant, and Hawaiian taro plants. These are the 6 There are many cases, many more cases I cannot list here, but I have taken few of them. These are the example of patent biopiracy. Now, please go to the ma'am next. I'll just take one or two. You can understand how biopiracy is done and how we become successful to overcome or prevent their unauthorized use. So for the case of Neem case, we can see Neem, as we know that in India, is known for since time immemorial for antifungal activities because it contains an active substance called azadirachtin and many more other terpenoids. So what happened? The European Patent Office gave patent on neem extract to United States Department of Agriculture and W.R. Grace. So they gave patent in 1994. If you remember that time is very crucial. People started monopolizing the things which are present or known to world. But when they got the patent, people come to know and they started opposing. Several NGOs started opposing. And what was the ground taken? As I said, to get the patent, you should show your invention novel, inventive step it should be having, and capable of industrial application, as well as it shall not fall under the exclusion of section 3. So when it was challenged, people showed that the properties of neem are known, and that is called as anticipation or prior art. It was existing before the patenting of the neem antifungal activity. And they cited that Ajay Biotech, which is present in Pune, was involved in making fungicide preparation since 1980. Because to prosecute the case in any legal entity, you have to provide the documental evidence. And for this documental evidence, when these cases started increasing, the government of India brought a proposal, and then CSIR and Ayush got developed a new body called as TKDL, Traditional Knowledge. It's a depository where all the information related with patent and descriptions are available in that library. So they could show it and they defended it properly and they won the case. Similarly, in the case of turmeric, the wound healing property was claimed to be novel and patent was taken by Das and Kohli in University of Mississippi Medical College from the United States Patent Office. And the similar approach was taken in this, and the people who were defending, they said that the knowledge about the wound healing property of haldi is existing since time immemorial, and it is called as the you can say it has no inventive step. It was obvious. It's a prior art. It's existing already, so you cannot give the patent on that. So that is why patent got cancelled and we won. So similar cases has happened all across the world. The similar one is basmati rice patent dispute. And similarly, we have also underwent for the wheat case. So as we can see, why we become successful to thwart the effect of these biopiracy of our biological resources, because we could prove by showing that the patent is not correct as per your law because it is not fulfilling the test, and that is why we could win the cases. Next, ma'am. Next. So I will take one international example of patent biopiracy, and that is Budia plant case. And this plant is basically growing in a desert region, and it has a property of appetite suppression. So the local people who are living in that area, they are known as San people. And when they used to go for hunting for very far away from their places, inavailability of food used to, create trouble for their survival. So over the period of time, they learned that you eating this plant, pulp used to suppress their appetite, and they could survive for longer time. So what happened when the CSIR of South Africa came to know about this property of Hoodia plant? They, extracted the thing and they got patent over it. But after patent, it was criticized because there was no provision of benefit sharing and no prior informed consent were taken from the people living, the San people living there. So these two principles were violated. So what happened over the period of time? Resistance took place and the negotiation took place. And after that, the company gave, assurance that they will share the benefit as well as royalty to with them, and they made a trust. And after that, the trust is taking care of that. So this awareness as well as the community right led to defending the cases of biopiracy. Similarly, the Taro case is also there. It can be read. I'll supply the PowerPoint. Next, ma'am. So after the patent biopiracy, non-patent biopiracy is also seen. In case of non-patent biopiracy, as I said, different tools are adopted to monopolize unauthorized use of the biological resource or knowledge, such as trademark, such as plant variety protection, and any other which can be applied on their products. So here we can take one case, and that is your Enola bean case. Next slide, ma'am. So what happened in this Enola bean case? It's an example of mixed patent as well as non-patent biopiracy. There is a plant called as yellow Enola bean. It's a Phaseolus vulgaris variety. It has a unique yellow color, and by the having of this, the company Pod Nurse got the patent as well as plant variety protection right over this variety. So what happened when there is people come to know about that the monopolization has been done? It was registered, and later this patent was revoked on the ground of absence of novelty and inventive step. And why? Because they used the fingerprinting technology, DNA fingerprinting technology, to see the genetic variation. So they found that the variety which is found in Mexican origin is closely related. So when they are very closely related, nothing new has been made by the company, Pod Nurse. So why they should get the patent? And that is why their patent is revoked. But still, the another right, that is plant variety protection right, is persisting and it's going on. So it's a kind of mixed case where one type of biopiracy is prevented, but the other is still prevailing. Similar cases are there. Peanuts from Malawi and Jasmati trademark. As you can see, it's having similarity with the Basmati. So people are using the name and confusing the others. Deception is there, and that is used for making their product more sold, more profit, and such type of biopiracy is also seen. Next, ma'am. And the third case, which is the case of misappropriation. In the patent and non-patent, legal recourse were taken. But in case of misappropriation, no patenting or other than patenting activity was done to protect the thing, but it was misused. There is a case of marine fungi case. In this case, what happened? There is a company in Bangkok which got collected so many rare collection of fungi. The aim was to screen for the products which has human values, and for that they because they do not have the proper conservation or their storage places, so they collaborated with the professor of United Kingdom Portsmouth University for their storage, and they send it to their country. But after some time, the company, Thailand company, asked by citing back a gentleman agreement, जैसे हमने आपको दिया था, अब हमें हमारा प्रोडक्ट दे दीजिए, लेकिन उनके रिक्वेस्ट को ठुकरा दिया गया और ये प्रोसेस ऑफ निगोशिएशन कई महीनों तक चलती रही. वो कहते रहे कि भाई जो खर्चा मेरा लगा हुआ है आपके बैंकॉक से यूके तक आने में वो आप दीजिए. उन्होंने बहुत सारे एक्सक्यूज दिए और इस तरह उन्होंने उनका टाइम बर्बाद किया और वो मटेरियल उनको वापस नहीं किया. फाइनली आफ्टर सम टाइम they agreed to return, but when they returned, with returning they gave this material to some other companies, and because there was a long time duration, so many fungal species got died. So what happened? The companies which were not knowing they got this material, they might be having their sample in their storage place and using for screening so many things, so they misappropriated without the permission or desire of the state, that is your Thailand. So such type of activities are seen, which we can see in the biopiracy. How much time left, ma'am?
Doctor, you can carry on.
Okay.
Carry on.
Okay. Next slide, please. This is the slide which is showing that if the people is stealing the biological material, like there was a one Czech national who was arrested for stealing the insect, and these punishment are possible because of the laws prevailing in India, and that law we are going to discuss how we use those law to protect our biological resource as well as traditional knowledge. Next slide, please. Now, as we have discussed in the past, what is biopiracy? What are their types? How patent is basically affecting the biopiracy, and other type of intellectual property rights are affecting the piracy. Now, in this section, I am going to take what are the remedies and what are the legal options are available and the sources of laws available by which we protect our biological resource. So we can just trace from the United Nations document. There is a document called a UDHR. It has a section 27, and that section 27(2) says everyone has right to the protection of the moral and material interest resulting from any scientific, literary or artistic production of which he is the author. तो इसका मतलब है कि अगर किसी ने कुछ साइंटिफिक प्रोडक्ट और वो चीजें क्रिएट की हैं और उसका ऑथर है, तो उसको राइट टू प्रोटेक्ट है. और इसी के अंतर्गत स्टेट का भी राइट आता है. दैट इज आई हैव रिटन MTA PIC. That is, MTA is material transfer agreement, PIC is prior informed consent. So these things flows from these article. Next. In India, the supreme law is Constitution of India. So in Constitution, there are certain provisions. They also help in biopiracy, not directly because there is no biopiracy term has been used in Constitution of India. But if we read the Article 51, it says that it shall be the duty of every citizen of India to protect and improve the natural environment, including forest, lake, river, wildlife, and so on. So it is our duty to protect biological resource also, because forest, lake, river, wildlife, these are part of that. Apart from the duty, we have also right. Under Article 19, we can carry out our business. So if you are having relationship with the biological product or knowledge, we can run our business also. So the right and duties are given by the Constitution. Next, please. Similarly, the state meaning thereby the country, or you can say the the central government as well as the state, they have duty to protect this. These duties are, included way back when our Constitution drafted. This biodiversity and all those terms came later, but our forefathers were so visionary. They did not use these complex terms, biopiracy, biodiversity, bioprospecting, but they were very sincere and visionary, and they added the word, the state shall endeavor to organize agriculture. Agriculture is a very broad term. It includes so many things, where biodiversity also falls under that. In Article 48A, they say that states shall protect and improve the environment and safeguard the forest and wildlife. That means our biodiversity protection duty is also put on the soldier of state, not only on the citizen. The state is also bound to protect that. So biodiversity cannot be stolen without the permission of the state. Next, please. We have 7th schedule. So many provisions are there, but one thing is very important. Entry 49, if you see, under the union list, because 7th schedule में 3 है, union list, state list और concurrent list. Union में सिर्फ केंद्र सरकार, state में राज्य सरकार, और concurrent list में दोनों बना सकते हैं नियम. तो article entry 49 के अंतर्गत सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट पेटेंट, इन्वेंशन, डिजाइन, कॉपीराइट, ट्रेडमार्क एंड मर्केंडाइज मार्क, इन सब के बारे में कानून बनाती है. और एक चीज और है, केंद्र सरकार के पास एंट्री 1970 के अंतर्गत पूरा अनब्रिडल्ड पावर है, वो कुछ भी लॉ बना सकती है, दैट एनी अदर मैटर. सो बायोडाइवर्सिटी और बायोपायरेसी को प्रिवेंट करने के लिए अगर हमारे वर्तमान कानून कम पड़ते हैं तो केंद्र सरकार एंट्री 97 को यूज करके कुछ भी कानून बना सकती है जिससे देश का भला हो सकता है. सिमिलरली स्टेट लिस्ट में एग्रीकल्चर है, कॉन्करेंट लिस्ट में फॉरेस्ट, प्रोटेक्शन ऑफ वाइल्ड लाइफ, एनिमल एंड बर्ड. सो वी हैव आवर कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन इज रिच इन गिविंग पावर टू मेकिंग द कंजर्वेशन ऑफ बायोलॉजिकल डाइवर्सिटी एज वेल एज प्रिवेंटिंग द एनी बायोलॉजिकल प्रोडक्ट और ट्रेडिशनल नॉलेज. Next, please. So that was the Indian scenario. At the international level, we have so many, laws, but for the sake of making it crystal clear and smaller to understand, some are very important. As I said, 1992 Convention on Biological Diversity is very important. That is the mother of, preventing the the stealing of biological resource. And after that, WTO came. It brought the TRIPS rules through which patent and other intellectual property rights were given. There is a Budapest Treaty, and this Budapest Treaty helps in getting the patent. If you are getting patent on any microorganism, you have to deposit your microorganism to designated place. And this is done with the help of Budapest Treaty. So you cannot, claim or, cheat any nation by stealing the biological resource. And last one is your Seed Treaty. Seed Treaty is the name is your International Treaty on Plant Genetic Resource for Food and Agriculture. The Convention on Biological Diversity deals in general, but this Seed Treaty deals with the only the biological resource associated with food crops. CBD and C-treaty are complementary in nature. They fulfill each other's requirement. And their aim is to protect the plant genetic resource, conserve, use, and ensure the benefit sharing so that piracy is not done. Now, let's come to the Convention on Biological Diversity. For simple understanding, CBD lays down 3 principles. It says conservation of biological diversity. Second, it says you have to use the biological products sustainably. And third is they are laying down, if you are using any biological product or any knowledge, any benefit arising from that, use of that, you have to share with stakeholders. So this is the broad aim or objective of the Convention on Biological Diversity. Next, please. So it is listed there. You can read here. After the Convention of Biological Diversity, they have evolved a protocol. They have evolved a protocol. That protocol is basically extension of Convention of Biological Diversity. As you can see in the third goal, it says benefit sharing. So how the benefit will be shared and what will be the mode and what will be the procedure, this is ensured by a protocol called as Nagoya Protocol. It allows access to biological resource. It allows fair and equitable sharing of benefit, and it helps in implementing the Article 15 and 8J of CBD. And what is these? In the next slides. You can read here. Article 8 is basically the conservation. You have to conserve the biodiversity. And Article 15 is access to genetic resource and benefit sharing arising by use of these. So Nagoya Protocol is basically a complementary set of rules that helps in achieving the aim of Convention on Biological Diversity, and by that we prevent the biopiracy. As such, there is no term of biopiracy is used in the documents. That is why we have to link all these clauses, all these articles with the biopiracy. Next, please. As we know that the TRIPS is basically output of WTO effort, and TRIPS lays down the standard, uniform standard, and uniformity and certainty, transparency across the globe among the parties of WTO. WTO is basically a unit that governs the trade related matters. So now intellectual property is basically part of trade. So if something is involving intellectual property right related with patent, trademark, or anything, they should be uniform, and that is why the TRIPS is brought. And as per the TRIPS, we have modified or enacted new laws in our country. We'll see in the next slide. So these are the features. We should not waste time on that. Next. Here I wanted to tell about what is related with TRIPS, biopiracy, patent, non-patent, everything. So now here you can see TRIPS grants patent and patent on product and process under Article 27.1. And the same thing which I discussed based on novelty, inventiveness, and industrial applicability. But it also lists exclusions. किस पर पेटेंट नहीं देने हैं वो भी लिस्टेड है इसमें. और इसका जो आर्टिकल 27.3 है, that is very important because it has become bone of contention of biopiracy, especially patent biopiracy related matters and non-patent also. So it says members shall provide for the either by patent or by the effect of sui generis system or by protection of plant varieties, any combination thereof. So आप अपने प्लांट वेराइटी को पेटेंट से प्रोटेक्ट कर सकते हो, आप उन्हें सुई जेनेरिस तरीके से नए एक्ट बना करके प्रोटेक्ट कर सकते हो, या दोनों के कॉम्बिनेशन से प्रोटेक्ट कर सकते हो। अब क्या हुआ, यूनाइटेड स्टेट ने इस पर पेटेंट देना शुरू कर दिया। हम जो है सुई जेनेरिस बना के उसको प्लांट वेराइटी प्रोटेक्शन के अंदर प्रोटेक्ट करते हैं। सो वी हैव अ डिफरेंट एप्लीकेबिलिटी, एंड वी नो दैट इफ यू आर गिविंग पेटेंट प्रोटेक्शन टू एनीथिंग, 20 year is blocked. So that is the problem starts from there. Next, please. So this is the seed treaty. Seed treaty is also having the same mandate as the Convention on Biological Diversity. But what is the difference? We can just read red points. This treaty is focusing only on the plant genetic resources and knowledge associated with food and agriculture. It is specific, and it has very clear provision for material transfer agreement. If we want to do research on a particular plant, we have to undergo material transfer agreement. We cannot just take the material from India to America or America to India. So it prevents the biopiracy related with the crop or food materials. And many more other provisions are incorporated, like monetary, other benefit, capacity building, information exchange, decision making, germ plasm storage facility. In India, we have several centers like NBPGR. It is closely working with the seed treaty. We have storage, accession numbers of each seed, and so many materials. They have their numbers, so nobody can cheat very easily. That's the benefit of this. Now, in Indian scenario, that was the international scenario. In Indian scenario, we have several laws that helps in preventing the biopiracy. Among them, you can list most of the acts related with intellectual property have minor or major provision for preventing the biopiracy. We will just go one by one. Please, next. So as we discussed in the past, we have a Convention on Biological Diversity. It was made in 1992. India enacted, as per the CBD, in our country, a law known as Biological Diversity Act in 2002, and it came into force in 2003. What it does basically, how it is related with biopiracy. You can see the provisions, the sections are given and like that. I'll just read, you can understand very easily. If any person is looking for carrying out any activity related with biodiversity, they will have to take prior approval of National Biodiversity Authority. You cannot do without that. And this authority is located in Chennai. Similarly, the result of research not to be transferred to certain persons without approval of NBA. And the important one is, whenever you are going to make application for IPR, say for patent, you cannot make the application without prior approval of National Biodiversity Authority. So you have to acknowledge the authority. So it is a kind of check that prevents the biopiracy. And some other clauses are there, like you have to inform prior. And to ensure that in India, there are 3-tier system of prevention of such biopiracy. We have NBA, National Biodiversity Authority at Apex, then State Biodiversity Authority, and then we have a Biological Management Committee at local level. And this BMC is very important because without its consultation, you cannot undertake any activity related with any biological material found in that locality. So that makes a very powerful level of this biopiracy. Next, please. And those were the provisions by which you cannot, pirate. And if you want to do something betterment, because in the CBD, the second clause says sustainable use of biological diversity. So how to get that? To get that, they have made provision of benefit sharing. If you have taken the material, you must make the product, use it, and whatever benefit is emanating from that, you can share the benefit with their stakeholders. And these are given under the section 21, how it will be done. It can be monetary sharing, it can be non-monetary sharing, depending on their agreements. And for that purpose, there is a fund called National Biodiversity Fund is made under section 27. The money is deposited there. I read a few days back, like somebody, sold the 2,000 kilogram of this neem leaf to abroad, and by sending that, they got certain royalty, and that royalty was deposited in this fund, and that fund will translate that money to that local people from where these leaves were collected. And this way, the benefit sharing reaches to their stakeholder, and aims of CBD as well as biological diversity is fulfilled. Next, please. So these are the provisions how you conserve your biological diversity. I am not going into that because it's not that much related. But the last point is very important. If any offense is done against these, the provisions made in Biological Diversity Act, they are cognizable. Your arrest can happen without warrant and non-bailable. And the fine is very hefty. You can see 10 lakh for contravention of such clauses. So very hefty fine are given there and made cognizable and non-bailable. Next, please. इसको भी आगे बढ़ा दीजिए, इसको भी. अब जो हमारा आया था वो तो हो गया आपका CBD और बायोडाइवर्सिटी एक्ट. पेटेंट एक्ट किस तरीके से बायोपायरेसी को बचाता है? तो इसमें बहुत ही एक्सप्लिसिट सेक्शंस हैं जो बायोपायरेसी को रोकने में सक्षम. जैसे जब भी आप अपना पेटेंट फाइल करते हैं तो पेटेंट फाइल करने से पहले स्पेसिफिकेशंस बनाते हैं, और उन स्पेसिफिकेशन में आपको डिस्क्लोज करना होता है कि आपके बायोलॉजिकल मटेरियल का सोर्स क्या है, उसका ज्योग्राफिकल ओरिजिन क्या है, और अगर आपने कोई माइक्रो ऑर्गेनिज्म यूज किया है तो उसको आपको बुडापेस्ट ट्रीटी के अंतर्गत डिपॉजिट करना पड़ेगा. अगर आप ये क्लॉज फुलफिल नहीं करते हैं तो आपका पेटेंट का स्पेसिफिकेशन कंप्लीट नहीं माना जाएगा और आपका पेटेंट रिजेक्ट हो जाएगा. उसके अलावा अगर मान लीजिए आप यहां से बच गए तो आप नेक्स्ट स्टेप में है कि अगर आपका पेटेंट एक्सेप्ट हो गया, मतलब एप्लीकेशन एक्सेप्ट हो गया, तो आपके उस एक्सेप्टेंस के बाद और जब ऑपोजिशन टाइम आता है, क्योंकि वो पब्लिश किया जाता है पेटेंट कि इस व्यक्ति को इस चीज के ऊपर पेटेंट दिया जा रहा है और वो पेटेंट ऑफिस के जर्नल में पब्लिश होता है, तो वो ऑपोजिशन किया जा सकता है प्री ग्रांट में और पोस्ट ग्रांट में. पोस्ट ग्रांट में शर्त यह है कि आपको 1 साल का ही टाइम मिलता है. अब इसमें इशू क्या है कि उसमें अगर किसी ने डिस्क्लोज नहीं किया या रॉन्गफुली मेंशन किया सोर्स, ज्योग्राफिकल ओरिजिन ऑफ बायोलॉजिकल मटेरियल और ट्रेडिशनल नॉलेज, your patent can be stopped, not given. So these provisions are available. Next, please. अगर वहां से भी आप निकल गए तो आपका पेटेंट रिवोक भी किया जा सकता है सेक्शन 64 के अंतर्गत. आपने, चूंकि वही क्लॉज है कि अगर आपने डिस्क्लोज नहीं किया या रॉन्गफुली मेंशन किया है तो भी आपका रिवोक किया जा सकता है, या फिर आपका पेटेंट पहले से उपस्थित नॉलेज, चाहे वो ओरल हो या अदरवाइज किसी भी मीन से लोकल ट्रेडिशनल नॉलेज के पास पीपल के पास अवेलेबल है और वो एंटीसिपेटेड है, प्रायर नॉलेज इज देयर, you cannot get the patent and your patent will be revoked. Next, please. Similarly, that was the Patent Act. How Patent Act prevents the biopiracy. Now we have sui generis law for protecting the plant variety. How plant variety protects? Plant variety protect the biopiracy. So in the next slide, you can see, ma'am, the act has provision for protection of traditional knowledge. So if you are going to take any IP right on these plant variety, if you are failing to disclose the biological material or genetic material taken from where and who was associated with that, your application will be rejected. So you can see this act also have the provision of benefit sharing and have the fund like provision to propagate the mandate of CBT as given in their objective 2 and 3. So this Plant Variety Protection Act also ensures that piracy is not done. Next, please. And as we discussed in the past, in the few slides back, we have become much more aware about the protection and documentation of knowledge available in our country, so that no piracy is done. So to meet that, we have created a traditional knowledge digital library, where we prevent the misappropriation of traditional knowledge and bio resource. So this library is very useful, and by using this library, I think number of patents have been dismissed. So such type of activities are very much required and needed to be augmented year by year. Next, please. And the last one, this is the slide which I made for students. How students can use their degree to enter into the legal domain and the intellectual property right laws, and their career can be made. So, in Patent Act, there is a section 126 that makes the provision of patent agent and trademark agent. So, जितने भी हमारे ग्रेजुएट स्टूडेंट हैं, वो इसे अपना करियर बना सकते हैं. जिनको आगे जो PhD नहीं करनी है या इच्छा नहीं है, और अगर ये फील्ड अच्छा लगता है, तो इस फील्ड में आ सकते हैं, क्योंकि ये बहुत ही लुक्रेटिव और फाइनेंशियली बहुत ही स्ट्रांग है. अगर आप इसमें बहुत अच्छा काम कर जाते हैं, तो आपके पास बहुत ज्यादा एवेन्यू है. और मुझे लगता है कि डॉक्टर अश्विनी सिवाल इस मामले में बहुत ज्यादा हेल्प कर सकते हैं, बिकॉज ही इज अटैच्ड विद सो मेनी पीपल हु आर इन्वॉल्व्ड इन दैट. सो स्टूडेंट को क्या होना चाहिए? सिंपल इंडियन सिटीजन, मुझे लगता है सारे होंगे, 21 साल की उम्र पूरी कर लें, डिग्री साइंस की उनकी है ही है, मुझे लगता है जितने भी सुन रहे हैं, उन्हें एग्जाम एक पास करना होगा, थोड़ी सी मेहनत करनी होगी, एग्जाम पास कर लीजिए, और एक छोटी सी फीस होती है, वो आप जमा कर दीजिए. इतना कर लेंगे तो आप पेटेंट या ट्रेडमार्क एजेंट बन जाएंगे. प्लीज इसको उस तरीके से मत लीजिएगा LIC एजेंट बन जाएंगे. LIC एजेंट और ट्रेडमार्क एजेंट में बहुत फर्क है. यू विल अर्न लाइक एनीथिंग. आपके ऊपर होगा, जितना काम करोगे उतना पैसा बनाओगे. उसके बाद अगर ग्रेजुएशन करने के बाद इच्छा है, तो मुझे लगता है कि आपको LLB करनी चाहिए. डॉक्टर अश्विनी सिवाल जी से उनके पास जाके LLB में एडमिशन लेना चाहिए. You should choose your career in that direction, and you can become teacher, researcher, legal practice, legal officer, judiciary, civil services. So many things, options are open, and हमारी तरह भाषण देने वाले भी बन सकते हैं. That's the thing which I can give with the student. I think this is the last slide.